Good afternoon, good afternoon, and good afternoon. Thank you for joining me on another episode of the Ask Sharifah Videocast. I am your host, Sharifah Hardie, and I have someone incredible for you to meet. This young lady is amazing. She does a lot to help the world, help you, and she has gone through it, but she'll be able to tell you how you can bounce back when you go through it too. But before I go ahead and introduce our guest, I'm going to invite you to do what I always invite you to do. And that is to go out and share the show because this information may benefit your friends. So maybe someone's an entrepreneur. Maybe they're struggling. Maybe they want to give up. I don't know. But they won't have this information unless you go ahead and share the show with them. So while you're sharing the show, I want to go ahead and introduce the beautiful Miss LaNika Nichelle Williams, or better known as the Bounceback Queen. She is a motivational speaker, author, entrepreneur, coach, mentor, activist, philanthropist, and so much more. She helps those with life struggles overcome challenges while being their biggest cheerleader. She teaches them how to cheer themselves through life. She is a life survivor and she helps people build resilience, find solutions, and shift negative or limiting thoughts. LaNika has been featured in WebMD, Thrive Global, Morning Laziness, Authority, and Power Magazine. And she has been featured on Face To Face Talkshow, Permission to Heal podcast, and Bigger Than Me with Traci Harrell. She has been speaking and encouraging everyone as early as 12 years old. Miss LaNika Nichelle, good morning. How are you? Or good afternoon. I'm sorry.
Hi, how are you?
So
Thank you for
excited.
having me.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited because I haven't been able to speak to you in a while. And every time you're a guest on a show, it's like, I love your honesty. I love your brutal honesty about what you feel and what's going on. And I really think that's a key element of bouncing back, to just hear the truth and pick yourself up. But for the people who don't know who you are, tell us about yourself. Who are you? What do you do? And what are you passionate about?
So I am LaNika Nichelle. I like to say I wear many hats, but they all fit. I'm a motivational speaker. I am a mentor. I'm very passionate about my babies. Positive Inspirations is my mentorship program, where I be who I wish I had grown up. I'm a mom. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm just out here just trying to sprinkle my Shelly dust on the world.
I like that. Shelly dust. I'm gonna have to give me some Reaper dust.
You got it, girl.
It's Friday. This is my last interview of the day, last interview of the week, which means it's definitely going to be a lot of fun. So your bio made me tired. Like certain people's bios, I'm like, okay, that's too much work for me. You're doing all of that, and everything that I named you didn't even mention. I mean, it didn't even include being a mom. So you do all it on this on top of being a mom. How many kids do you have?
So I have 6 kids total. I have 3 birth kids, and then I have 3 living bonus babies. So like with my mentorship program, I call all of them my bonus babies, but these are living, meaning, like permanent. Over the past 9 years, I've had to take in 10 kids to keep them out of the system, 10 of my bonus babies to keep them out of, like foster care and child services or whatever. So these 3 I am adopting. So those are mine. Those are the permanent. So now I have 6 teenagers and I still have all my hair. So
I wouldn't all my hair. I only have 2 kids and I already pulled out half of my hair. So let's go back to 10 kids. So over time, it's been a total of 10 children that you had in the house.
yes, and some more than once.
Okay.
And I grew up in, the system. I learned about the system in the 4th grade. And I'm from Baltimore. So I, got the raw deal of learning that oftentimes, and I'm not saying all of them, but a lot of times it's not designed for the children, even though it's the illusion that it is designed for the children. And sometimes, unless you know somebody who's in it or been through it yourself, you don't understand, because the optical illusion is that, oh, they're better off here. Sometimes you need to maybe give that family some sort of counseling or resources or whatever, because where you taking them from, you might be taking them, as they say, out the frying pan into the fire. So I kind of try to intervene where I can, because if it's up to me, they all can come stay with me. They're not, I'm not sending them with no strangers, you know. Look, I have them anyway, so.
Look at that smile though when you say that. I mean, I wouldn't even begin to smile if I imagine all these kids showing up at my house. Like, that is kids, pets, plants, none of that is my thing, because then there are things and people you have to take care of. And I'm like, I don't want the responsibility. My kids right now are 25, they'll be 25 and 28 this year. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want anything small. But one of the things that you said intrigued me when you said I had to take them in. I mean, there are millions of people who would have just said, we'll go into the system. Why did you feel, and I know you said that you were in the system, but why did you feel that you had to do this?
I feel like God wanted me to. I feel
Mhm.
like God, I have a very, like, okay, I'm tough. I'm known to be tough. Like, okay, I am sweet as some homemade banana pudding, but I am from Baltimore, and that Baltimore will slip out from time to time.
Mhm.
But so, like, when I mentor them, it's more of like very loving and nurturing, but when they need me to get on them, I get on them.
Mhm.
You know, to try to teach them different things, you know, different life lessons, and to keep pushing forward. And I feel like everything has come full circle, because I'm now living in South Carolina.
Mhm.
And I didn't plan to be in South Carolina for 9 years at all. But God had a plan for me. I didn't come down here to be like, I'm, you know, like, let me advertise. Hey, y'all want to come live with me? That's not how that happened at all. But it just so happened that I've had a relationship and bond with these children for years. And they're coming to me like, you know, I need help. What can you please just let me stay with you? And I'm like, I'm not gonna tell no baby no, like that I can do it. I just say a prayer. And that's the thing about me. When I say a prayer, I don't worry,
Mhm.
because I feel like if you pray and then worry, it kind of defeats the purpose, contradict each other, in my opinion. So that's why I just pray and let it go. And I always say, we'll figure it out. I get people all the time be like, so do you get funding, or how do you take care of all these kids? And I say, God. I mean, my
Mhm.
grandmother took care of us and she didn't have any help. You do what you want to do. You figure it out. That's part of what I teach people. You got to learn how to be resourceful and figure
Mhm.
things out, because nobody's going to do nothing for you.
No, I agree, because I always say the same thing, and I've been raised the same way. You cannot simultaneously worry and pray. You can do one or the other. So pick the one that you want to do. So I don't spend a lot of time worrying about something. I pray, I ask for it, and I let it go just as well as you. But how did you get started on this path and this journey? I mean, 10 kids, probably 8, 9, kids in, you're like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. But how did you start with like the first one?
Well, originally, I didn't even. Okay, I grew up in, once I got with my grandma, I grew up in a house where, we was the kind of the party house, the house where all the friends was at. My grandmother preferred for us to be there, so she know what we, what we were, who our friends were. Our friends never wanted to go home. That's kind of how my house is. And it's funny that, my cousins that I grew up in a house with, they tease me and say, oh gosh, you got the same house, like you didn't get sick of that growing up. Like you literally turned your house into the same house that we grew up in. And I
Mhm.
didn't do it on purpose. So how it started is, friends and my kids' friends. And I've always been avid up to the school. You're going to catch me up to my kids' school. I don't care how many jobs I have and what shift I work. Sometimes my kids don't come in and sometimes they don't. So that's how it started with, the mentoring. They would get me to come in and talk to different kids and, kind of just be there. I would eat lunch with some of them and, I just grew relationships and bonds, and that turned into us going on trips and, us having movie nights at the house and different things. And before you knew it, I had a mentorship program.
Mhm.
It kind of just fell into place. Like, believe me, I did not plan this. That was not my plan at all.
With the mentorship, and you mentioned that the school would invite you up there to speak to some of the kids. Were these kids that were going through specific problems? Maybe they weren't responding to other people, behaving or getting good grades. Is that when they would, hey, this is a problem, let's call LaNika?
Yeah, I have well, it was different issues. Some kids just want, okay, my piece of paper is in early childhood growth and development. I
Mhm.
literally been
She say
watching
my
kids.
piece of paper. I like that.
I've literally been watching kids since I was 10 years old. My little brother is 26,
Okay.
25, 26, and he will tell you that he was my first child. I feel like it, but
Mhm.
so I've been almost groomed to be nurturing
Mhm.
the kids. And if I see a child that, I can pick up on vibes with me being coming to the classroom, quite often, I can pick up, you start to learn them. So you start to learn, okay, this one's normally, a little happy. Something's off today. So, talk to the teacher. Teacher's like, okay, well, maybe you can tell him. I'm like, is it okay if I could talk to him? And that's how it started. I have one kid that I always brag on him. I call him brag, and I brag on him. He is 7 right now. And when I tell you, me and Mr. Little Man went through it at first in kindergarten. Let me tell you how bad it was. They stopped calling his mother and started calling me.
Mhm.
And he knew he didn't want Auntie to come up there because I told you I'm loving, but when you need me to get on you, I'm going to get on you. So
Right.
he's seen that once I started, I'm like, look, don't you want me to come and bring you snacks? Hang out, meet your friends, come eat lunch with you. Like, look, this is better. Why don't you let Auntie come up here for good reasons? Please don't have the school call Auntie, because you're not going to be happy when Auntie get here.
Right.
So, and to this day, this kid has straight A's. He is behavior totally like this. This is a totally different young man. He has really matured. He was at my house last weekend. Like, he loves to get his bonuses. He be calling me all the time, like, Auntie, I got a green dot, I got a blue dot, like that. I that just makes it all worth it. Everything that I go through, it makes it worth it to hear that.
So with all the kids, do you do homeschooling?
Yes, right now, until COVID is completely done, then I will send mine back,
Mhm.
because I just didn't think the schools, especially where we live, did a good job at like strep and flu and everything else. So I don't particularly trust them with COVID. So
Like, you
when it
couldn't even
dies
do the
down
common
some,
flu.
no, I just didn't. I was like, yeah, I had brain surgery 2 years ago. So I'm like, I'm not going to be, risking my immune system or theirs. Like, they don't get on my nerves that much. They pluck my
Mhm.
nerves sometimes, but not that much. I don't want to put them in danger.
So what's the grade range that they're in?
Well, my oldest son is 22. He
Okay.
works at a hospital. And then I have 3 16-year-olds and two
Wow.
14-year-olds.
Okay,
And
wait.
two of the,
Okay, wait. I'm sorry. The 16-year-olds, boys, girls.
so it's 2 girls and a boy. The one boy and one
Oh
girl
my God, you must
are
be
my,
going through it.
they are my twins. The one boy and one girl, they're twins. They're my birth twins. And then my
Okay.
22-year-old is my birth son. But my daughter's best friend, who's been her
Okay.
best friend since 3rd grade, her and her little sister. So she's one
Okay.
of the 16-year-olds. Her little sister is one of the 14-year-olds. And then
Oh
the
wow.
other 14-year-old is another branch, another sister from another one of their friends. Her brothers was some of the 10. And when their grandfather got better, the boys went with him, and we decided it was best if she stayed with me because she's the only girl. So that's how that that's how that happened.
I have one girl, one boy, but I always say, and I may be wrong, but boys are so much easier than girls to me. You know, the boys, you can just go outside, don't hurt yourself, don't kill yourself. You know what I mean? The girls, it's these emotions and tears and attitudes. And I hope I don't get a whole bunch of comments saying this, but I mean, that's how I feel. It's like, oh, teenage girls, I wouldn't even be able to do it at my age.
Oh my goodness, you want to hear something funny? Okay, first off, I never wanted kids. This
Mhm.
is funny for me to say this. I never wanted kids. I got six. So then after my oldest son, I was like, it's just going to be one and done.
Right,
I'm not having no more. But then the
right.
twins came and I got scared. I was like, you know what? If two girls come out of here, I had my kids in Baltimore at a
Mhm.
hospital that's right next to a psychiatric place because
Oh,
I told
wow.
my grandmother, if two girls come out of here, you send me next door for a month and you take over. Let me build
Right.
that up. And now I got four girls. So I called my grandmother like, Mommy, I'm so sorry for everything. And she laughs. And I'm like, how did I end up with four girls? She like, because you never wanted one. So now you got
Right.
four.
Right. But they are emotional. It's just it's just the way we are. You know, I'm a woman. I know how emotional I can be, but I just couldn't imagine it. Now let's talk about being the bounce back queen. We talked about your children. We, you know, this whole experience. How did you get the term or the phrase, the bounce back queen?
Well, I have been through a lot, like my background, which everybody goes through stuff. Um, but it kind of almost seemed like I could never catch a break at
Mhm.
times. And when things would happen, people would be like, "Oh, well, we just calling to check on you, but we know you're gonna be okay because you bounce back from everything." And I would jokingly say and be like, "Oh yeah, because y'all know I'm the bounce back queen." And then I just thought about it one day. I was like, "Wait a minute, I'm the bounce back queen. I am the bounce back queen," and it just sprung from there.
Hmm. But people say that the strong people are the one, no, like the way your friends spoke to you is the same way my friends speak to me, that you'll be okay. Like I, you know, I'm like, do I, if you cut me, do I not bleed? Like I have feelings, you know what I mean? But people are always like, oh, you'll be okay, you're strong. And I'm like, okay, but that totally negates the fact that I have feelings, you know? So for you, do you feel like you wish they would have been more empathetic? They would have taken your pain more serious? Do you feel like there's more of a reaction that you could have received from them?
At times, but to be honest, looking back at everything that I've been through, especially my childhood, it's almost like it was building me up for different things. And I had an experience at 15 when I was blind. And ever since then, that was when I believed that God showed himself to me. And ever since then, I had a different outlook on life.
Okay, well, I missed a whole like part of your life, like a whole, ever since you were blind. How did you go blind? I didn't even know you
Well,
were blind.
yes, it was a freak accident. Okay, if my cousin Mishi, I love you, but it was a freak accident. And she meant to spray that off, but she didn't mean for we was young. I was 15, so that meant she was like 11, 10 or 11, something like that. And she sprayed it, and my grandmother's, I have a southern kind of tough, my grandma was very tough. Her solution for everything was go lay down. That
Hmm.
was always her solution. So when she helped me rinse my eyes out and I went to go lay down, and she took the baby because at that time I had my son. When I woke up the next morning, I saw black. I freaked out. I was screaming. I think the people down the street could probably hear me screaming. And she came in there, she took me to the ER. I never knew how sensitive your eyes were until they was pouring gallons and gallons of stuff on my eyes. And they was just like, it's really nothing we can do. You got to take her to a specialist. Sharifah, when I tell you that was probably the ugliest I ever was in my life on the inside, because I was, for the first and only time, questioning God. I felt like I was being targeted. Like, what did I do? Like, all the stuff that you let me go through thus far. Okay, now, wait a minute. Now, this is just doing too much now. Like, what did I do to you? Like, what is your beef with me? And
why hast thou forsaken me, Lord? Why? I'm sorry. I was in a moment there.
That was me though. That was me. I didn't want to see nobody. I had friends stop past. I didn't want to see nobody. I didn't want to wear those glasses. I could feel them. I was like, I'm not putting these on. I barely wanted my grandma to put my drops in my eyes. When I tell you, I'm surprised that she knocked my teeth out because I was so mean. Like I was really mean. And I had to go to a specialist. And every week, it was the typical what what do you see this one particular day, Sharifah, I did not want to go. And I have a strong grandma. She's like, no, you're going because in my mind, going downtown, I feel like everybody's looking at me. Everybody's like, look at that blind girl. What happened to her? What, but that's not what was happening. But in my mind at the time, that's what I felt was happening. So I'm just like, I don't want to do it. So she gets me to go in there, and I had to do the same exercises with this nurse before. And she's asking me, what do you see? I'm like, the same thing I see last week, nothing, like I was so over it. So she was like, I see you're agitated. I'm going to take you to your grandmother. So she took me in the room with my grandmother. And this one question was the one question that I absolutely couldn't stand for people to ask me. This doctor came in. I normally had a lady doctor. This time it was a man. He's like, what happened? When people ask me what happened, Sharifah, that was like, don't light a match because we all might blow.
Right.
So I'm like, mister, can you not just look in the chart? Like this, I don't feel like telling everybody the story of how I'm blind now. Like, look, I'm blind. So he's like, calm down. Tell me what happened. So he has my head in a tray, my little chin in a tray. I'm telling him the story of what happened. He's putting stuff in my eyes and literally how it went from, blurry to black. It went from black to blurry to clear. Oh, wow. I hopped down. I was like, I can see you. I started hugging that man. I don't know who that man was, but I was hugging him. My grandma was there. I was like, Gramsci, mommy, I can see you. I can see you, mommy. And, she's praying like, thank God, and then the man leaves out. He shakes my hand. He leaves out. You couldn't even count and got to 3. It was like 1, 2. And then my regular doctor walked in. I recognized her voice. That is true what they say about your senses. So I recognized her voice and I was like, I could see you. I could see you. And she's like, okay, calm down. What happened? I was like, the man had just left out of here. That doctor, I don't know what he did, but he fixed my eyes. So she was like, we don't have any man doctors. So I said, well, maybe he was a nurse. He had on a white coat. I figured, doctors wear white coats. She took my hand and she gave me this feeling I will go to the wall, the grave with. And she looked me in my eyes and she said, LaNika, we don't have any men that work here at all. And I looked at my grandma and was like, Mommy, did you see the man? Like, am I tweaking? And she's like, yeah, I seen him. So he's like, okay, guess what? I'm going to go to the front. I'm going to take off, cancel my weekly appointments and everything. I do have my paperwork from the hospital. That particular place in Mercy Hospital is no longer. They're not there anymore. But I do have my hospital papers that, says I was blind from bug off spray, but I can look at you right now. So, if something didn't happen, how am I looking at people? How am I able to see? And from then on, I have had a different outlook. I've learned to, no matter what I go through, I will never question it again because I understand there is a purpose and there's a reason for it. And I can now connect past things that I've been through. It's like connecting the dots. This is why I went through this because, I feel like that's why I had a bad childhood because my antennas, what I call them, is more sensitive to children who need me. So, I didn't know that at the time.
I'm blown away. I'm really, literally blown away. So I'm gonna ask the obvious question of who do you think that man was?
Me and my grandma will call him my angel. I don't know who that man is. I thank him all the time. I would pray afterwards, if I think like a month straight, and they'd be like, Mr. Whoever you were, like, gotta let him know that I'm so thankful, like I'm thankful that I could see. Like I was in a past the sunken place at this time when I was blind, because all the thoughts was racing through my mind. I'm like, I have a kid. My son is going to grow up with a blind mother. He's not, I'm not going to be able to see him. I'm not, I was just thinking, my mind was racing, and all of the bad things that you could have thought. And I know that it's plenty of, blind people that live full lives. But in my mind at 15, it was just like the most negative version of me ever. And I'm happy that I can admit that, that was a dark time for me. So things like, brain surgery and taking on kids, that stuff seemed minuscule to me. Like, it's like, I've been through worse. That's what I always tell people. I've been through worse. I'm good.
But you're smiling and you're laughing. Every time I speak to you, you're smiling and you're laughing. I haven't seen you upset. I haven't seen you mad. I haven't seen you the angry Black woman. You always are smiling and laughing. How do you do that? How do you keep so positive with everything else going on, not only in your world, but in the world?
Well, I try to look at the positive in everything, and I apply what I teach people. So I'm a big walk it like you talk it. So when I have clients that come to me, it's always a customized plan to fit them, because I get people that want all different kinds of, things. However, I just use things that I have taught myself. I kind of call it like the art of bouncing back. And I make it a customized plan according to them. So a lot of times I'm asking people, what is it that you want? What is it that you want me to help you with? What is it that you want to fix about yourself? What is your worries? What is bothering you? And then as I talk to them, I learn about where these things are stemming from, because things always stem from something. And then we go from there, and we work it out.
So when you just work it out, what do people typically come to you for? I mean, like,
most of my clients have been some sort of depression, or I've had people come to me that's grieving. And I had a lady come to me that she was bothered with time management, or she thought she was coming to me for time management. Sometimes this is the case too. Sometimes people will think they're coming to me for one thing, and then once we start digging, I could figure out where the root of the problem was. So she assumed it was time management, and she was bothered by people at work when, like her bosses or whoever is on her. So then as we started talking, we figured out that her dad was very stern. They was always, it was a time thing. They was yelled at a lot for a time. You had to do this on time. She, it was a trigger for her. So once, and it's so like, it's so amazing that people can't put those things together sometimes. And not till we start digging did we figure them out. So this is the philosophy I tell people. I believe that we all have three things in common: challenges, gifts and talents, and a purpose. I can't tell people what their specific thing is, but I can help you find it. And as long as you overcome your challenges, or work on them, enhance your gifts and talents, and walk in your purpose, you should have a full, fulfilling life. You should be able to learn from that how to cope and bounce back from whatever it is that may come your way, because I don't have a magic wand that's just going to zap everybody's problems away, but I can teach you how to cope and how to move forward and progress, and don't let things hinder you.
No, I agree. I understand completely what you're saying. That's why I always make the distinction between being a business consultant and being a coach. I tell people all the time, I'm not a coach, because I do not have that warm and fuzzy LaNika spirit. I'm like, look, this is what you need to do. Go do this, and come back. Like, I don't want to sit there and coach and figure out all your problems and everything like that. But I think it's amazing and wonderful that you do that, and that you're able to sit down with people and figure out and get to the root of the problem. Because I can get frustrated personally when I figure out, or they figure out the root of the problem and still don't want to do anything about it. That's why I'm like, no, I'm not a coach, because I'm not about to sit here and motivate you and inspire you. It's like, this is the problem, fix it. Do you ever work with clients where you really, maybe not in those words, but want to be like, okay, look, we found the problem 8 months ago. Like, when are we going to get to the solving of this problem?
Absolutely, absolutely. You're always going to have those problems. So sometimes that's part of another thing that, like I say, somebody will come to you for one thing, or what they think is the problem is. And you might end up, figuring out that actually procrastination and fear, not, wanting to, take risk and step forward. Those could be where we need to start, instead of here. Let's deal with this and then we can get here. So oftentimes, yes, that is the case. And that's where, that little piece of me where I'll be like, look, do you want to do this or not? I always ask people, how, from 1 to 10, how serious are you about doing this? If they give me a 9 or less, I will say, well, let me know when you are. I will turn it down.
They can't even be at a 9?
Let me know when you're a 9 or 10. They have to be a 9 or 10.
Okay.
Because I feel like then you really want it. You want to do this, because there's no point in, I like results. I love to see, people thrive. I'm one of those people. I love when people win. That makes me feel good. I would rather take the bullet or take whatever my own self, because I know I can handle it. Somebody else might not be able to handle it. So I'm kind of one of those, get out the way, I could do it. Right. Let me do it. Like, I don't want people to suffer or struggle. So that's one of the reasons why I'm very honest with my clients. Our intake normally lasts about, you have a consult, and then we have an intake, and that intake normally lasts at least an hour and a half, because I'm kind of trying to dig, see what's what, so that I can organize a plan and then come back to you, and we go over the plan, and if I miss something, or if you want to add something, or we go from there. So when I say it's customized, it's literally no two plans look alike. It's literally customized to that specific person, because I care about that person's growth, and I feel like you're coming to me for help, and that's my job, to help you.
What are some of the results you've seen?
So with children, it's so funny that for me, children are easier. So
I can imagine. They haven't had 50 years to do it this way.
Yes, you are really trying to rewire a person's brain, almost, to get them to see, or rethink how, to see why you're putting this negativeness is coming from somewhere. So once we get from the root of it and see what it is, then things is about perception, and things is about reaction. So I feel like if you have the correct or proper reaction to things, it's more so about your reaction versus necessarily what happened. So depending on, different things, I teach people different techniques on how to have a good reaction and how to see things in a certain perspective. So that way you won't think so negatively, and you won't think, everything is just negative. And you know what I mean? I do this exercise with some people, where if you start your day thinking positive all day, but you wake up positive, I'm going to have a good day, everything is good, I'm thinking positive about everything, you're typically 9 out of 10 going to have a good day. And I say, okay, tomorrow, wake up thinking negative, everything negative. I'm going to have a bad day. The weather's bad. If it's hot, it's too hot. If it's, cold, it's raining. Think about the most negative things and watch, don't you have a bad day? So once people see that a lot of it is in your thinking, then we can develop those habits to move forward. And then that makes my job a whole lot easier.
So they do the good day, then the bad day, then they come work with you, recognize the difference, and everything is better.
Yep.
So how long do they go to you for sessions? This is like a 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years. I like 6 for some reason today. I don't know.
So it really depends on the person. I've had people that I've worked with for like a month, and they are fine. I have people that have been with me for, it's like they keep coming up with something else. It's like I've had somebody that's been with me now about 8 months, and I love her. She can, as long as we're making progress. If things wasn't progressing, I would feel a certain type of way. But it's all about how much this person had to unpack and release and let go and move forward. So as long as we are, making strides and there's progression, I'm happy, and as long as the client's happy, because we all have to be happy. And that's another thing I had to tell people. I can't want it more than you.
Right.
Like you have to want this just as much as I want this for you. If I want this more than you, and these are your challenges, there lies a problem already from the get-go.
So when people come to you, you said one lady wanted to work on her time management. What are some of the specific issues that people come to you for?
Well, time management. I've had people, which is funny if people knew me back in the day, anger management.
They're like, LaNika's teaching anger management.
I know. It's so funny. No, I've actually always been naturally kind of bubbly, but what some of my friends would call bully patrol. I don't like bullies. Right. I don't like, people to pick on people just because, or that person's not going to say something bad. So I've had people come to me with anxiety. People come to me want to learn parenting. Like I need help with my kids are stressing me out. How do I not run away from my children?
How do you do that? Because I want to run away, and my kid's grown, and I want to run away.
Look, I tell mine a time or two and be like, look, one day I'm gonna start that truck. They don't pay me any attention when I say that, but no, you have to take you time. And that's something I had to learn. Like a lot of the things that pretty much everything that I teach is stuff that I have implemented, and that's how I know. Like I had to learn, you have to take that time for yourself. It's very good to meditate, even if it's for 5 minutes. I don't care where you gotta lock yourself, in your room, the bathroom, wherever you gotta lock yourself, the car, go somewhere to yourself, away from kids. And if your mind is one of those that, is going, my mind does that a lot, then that's where the meditation comes in at, because that clears your mind. That clears out all the noise, and it helps you to relax and find that peace, that calmness, so that you can regroup and breathe. And, then you go back to doing what you got to do. So I've had people come to me for, a lot of different things, but I think stress management is the most common one that I get. How do I cope? Like I'm overwhelmed. How do I keep moving forward? And a lot of things kind of coincide together.
Right.
So, I would tell somebody that time for yourself is very good for things like that. You have to do something. You got to release it. You can't hold on to it. So whether that's screaming into a pillow, you want to take the kickboxing class, writing it down to get it out. The important part is that we get it out, because if you hold on to it, it's going to hurt you more than anything else.
Do you ever have those moments when you're working with your clients, or maybe you're just working in general, where you have imposter syndrome? Like you work with so many different topics and so many different different problems, do you ever feel like, who am I to teach people anger management? I needed anger management 5 years ago or 20 years ago. Who am I to teach somebody about anxiety? I've never felt anxious in my life. You have such a broad variety of reasons people come to you. Do you ever ask yourself that question, who am I?
Well, in the beginning, I didn't even charge people. It
Mhm,
was like people was just coming to me asking me. It's like I was the go-to person. I
mhm.
have a friend that says, she says, Shelly is my doctor, my lawyer, my counselor. She's done naming stuff. She the cook. She the
The chief bottle washer, yes.
when she told her boyfriend all this, I just crack up like, why are you like this? And she's like, I'm serious though. She's like, anything that I needed, I have a question with. And that's how it started out. It
Mhm,
started out that people would come to me asking me different things. So then
mhm,
more people started telling other people and referrals came. So
mhm,
then one lady was like, well, how much? How much, do you charge? And I was like, oh no, I'm not, charging you anything. What? And she really was like, no, you need to charge people for your services. She was like, do you not understand what you're doing is a service? And at first I really didn't. I
mhm,
really didn't understand that because I've kind of always been like the go-to,
mhm,
so it was just a typical day, just, people need me. I feel like I'm going to put good into the world no matter what. So that's how I looked at it. And I almost really felt guilty. Like I had to do some mental development with myself to be okay with charging people because I
mhm,
felt like, how can you charge people for this? But, once I have sat down and analyzed everything, and did some that personal development, I understand. And it's like, people out here, I've had one person say, it's people out here doing a whole lot less than you and they're charging way more. You need to be charging people. So I
mhm,
think that was a hurdle I had at first. Not so much now. I really do look at my life experiences and things that I have as a lot of credentials. I've been around other coaches and things and before, and I feel like sometimes because they feel like I haven't had that specific training, maybe I'm not qualified.
mhm.
But I'm glad that I'm at a point that doesn't bother me because I feel like you can read all the books, you can have all the different training, but if you don't have that experience, how do you know what works and what doesn't work? You still trying to figure out what work and what don't work. I didn't spend my life figuring out what work and don't work already. And I am currently in RTT school, which is rapid transformational therapy. So in by June, I should have my July, I should have my certification in that. And that's for people who need a little extra help with that. It's not like traditional, hypnotherapy. It's like rapid, like
Mhm.
right there. So, I feel like that will give me a leg up. I am, I'm comfortable with myself and my results and my clients. But in the beginning, yes, I was all over the place.
No, I get it. And I'm glad that you came to that point of feeling more comfortable in your own skin and actually charging for it. Because I keep hearing you say it's a service, it's a service, it's a service. And I agree with that. I believe that, but I always take it from another approach because being a business consultant, I charge for people when they walk away, they're happy. But before the session, people may feel like, okay, well, it's just a service. Why are you charging for this service? I don't necessarily charge because it's a service. I charge for my time. And that's one of the things that I learned to really value and appreciate. Time is the one thing that's priceless. Time is the one thing you can't get back. And so as a consultant, what they want me to do is figure out their life for them. Just like you, they want you to sit there physically and help them figure out their life. That takes time, right? Somebody has to be able to pay for that time. And if you're the person that they go to sit down with to be able to help them do that, then they should pay for that time. That's how I look at it. Everything else, the service, the credentials, the certification is, you know, gravy on top for me. It's the whipped cream, the cherry on top. But you're taking your time that you could be spending with your children or just sitting there watching Netflix. It doesn't matter. It's your time to help them improve their life. So that's how I tend to look at it.
That is a very good way to look at it. See, that's another thing. I've always loved to learn.
Mhm.
And I love that I kind of grew up believing that a big old, this world is a big old melting pot and we can learn things from each other. So see how you just, you just told me that is a excellent way to look at it. That this is my time. This is, me taking time away from my kids, because it does get to be a lot trying to juggle out, my bonus babies and, the kids in the house and clients and, everything else. It can get to be a lot. So that is an excellent way to look at it. I thank you for sharing that.
Well, I hope that helped. I'm glad that helps, because that is really honestly the essence of business consulting. When you go to AskSharifa.com, it says the go-to resource for entrepreneurs. That's who I am, a resource for you. But if you want the resource and you want the information, you have to pay for that time. And I really believe that people appreciate things that they pay for. If you put your hard-earned money into paying for it, we appreciate it a little bit more. When you haven't, it's free, and somebody just sitting down, I can sit down and talk to my friends, but if I want a professional to help me, guess what? Professionals charge, and it just kind of reminds me on another note about my father. My father's an entrepreneur. He's had his own plumbing business in California since 85, I mean, he'll go out on jobs and people will be like, "You're too expensive, Mr. Jordan." And he'll tell them two things. He's like, number one, do you want to take your hand and stick it down that toilet with that shit? That's number one. And number two, do you have 35, 55 years of experience to know exactly where to go to get it fixed, even though it only took me 15 minutes. It took years of experience to be able to come up with that answer. And that's what you're saying. The same thing is, yeah, I may sit down with that person for 30 minutes or an hour, but based on all of my experience that I've seen in my life, I'm like, okay, well, this is what we need to work on. This is what we need to fix.
Exactly. That is exactly it. And your father was absolutely right. Do you want to do it? Clearly, you called for my help. So
Your
while
help
I'm
and
here,
your expertise.
you might as well let me help you.
Yes, and that's my fee. That's my cost for me to do it, and my dad really taught me a lot about business, but his attitude, his approach to it has really affected me. One of the things when I was laid off, because I was laid off 8 times, literally 8 different times, but I kept worrying and stressing and trying to build my business. And my dad told me, he said, you have to stop thinking about yourself as unemployed and start thinking about yourself as self-employed. And when I did, my mindset shifted, because if I'm unemployed, then guess what? Unemployed people do. They go and look for a job. So you're really not 100% in the boat. You're more straddling the shore and the boat trying to find. And I was like, nope, let me just get all the way in the boat so I can go on this self-employment. So I just learned so much from my dad about how to think about business and the mindset of an entrepreneur.
That's absolutely true. This past August, well, actually, like the end of July, I was exposed to COVID from one of my bonus babies. And I was placed first. I couldn't take a test because, at that time you had to have symptoms. And then, they were like, well, if you have symptoms, call your doctor. Called my doctor. My doctor instantly put me on quarantine. Now, mind you, I've been at the house that I was at for over a year, did my whole contract. I didn't renew my lease because I petitioned the court for the girls last January. And my lease was up last year. So I didn't think I had no idea COVID. I didn't know this would still be this.
Right.
So I didn't renew my lease. And I talked to my landlord. They basically told me everything was okay, so that way I wouldn't go to court. And they put us out for 1 month of rent.
Oh, wow.
Evicted us for 1 month.
During COVID?
Yes.
Wow.
In August. And they denied the money. That's the thing. I didn't I didn't give them the money because I didn't know if my doctor was going to have to put me in the hospital. She kept trying to get me to go. And I'm like, look, I'm saying maybe I could fight this at home like my grandmom did. I'm like, let me try to fight this at home. Believe me, if I felt like I need to go, I'll go. But when, it came down to it, that's why I didn't want to give them that. Because if I had to go to the hospital, I wanted my kids to have something because I've been in the hospital. They say you be here this time and then it'd be extended stay. So they denied the money. And when they denied the money, that let me know it wasn't about the money. It was about the fact that I didn't renew that lease. And they used that to get us out. And like I told them, you didn't do anything. We wasn't in the car. Thank God we stayed in a suite for 2 weeks. We are in a new house. We're actually in the same neighborhood. You didn't, I'm still in the middle class neighborhood I was in before. You really didn't do anything. I'm not sure, what you got out of that, but you actually put the hurt more on yourself. But you know what that did? That made me take the Bounceback Queen full time. That made me be like, you know what? This is full time. And actually that's two of the articles in Thrive Global and Authority Magazine that, they did the article on how I was able to pivot in the middle of a pandemic into, my full-time business. So, that's one of the things I teach people. You got to sometimes, if people say life give you lemons, make lemonade. Well, sometimes you gotta make some lemonade, some sorbet. You gotta make lemon meringue pie. You might gotta make a couple different things out of them lemons.
Yes, so. I know that feeling well. Yes. Oh my God, this has been such an amazing, incredible conversation. I had no idea where it's going to go, but I truly enjoyed it. Now, we are coming down to the last few minutes of the show. And what I love to do at the end of every show is just simply allow my guests the opportunity to speak directly to the audience, to everyone who is watching the show live, as well as everyone who is watching in the archives, and let them know what you want them to take away from your appearance here today.
I just want people to know that you are loved if nobody told you that, and that you can make a difference in a child's life. I don't care how big, how small, just Boys and Girls Club, anything. You don't have to take kids in. You don't have to start your own entity. You can go and volunteer at already existing entities and just try to put good into the world. And if you're feeling down about yourself and you're having a down day, you get it out and then go do some service for somebody, because that's going to do more for you than the person that you did service from, because that gets you out of your funk. So those are the things, that my little teasers that I, like to tell people, to just try to look at the positivity and put good into the world. And if we all do that, then we can get out of some of this stuff that we're going through globally.
Yes, absolutely. Now, if people want to find you or they want more information, where can they do that?
So on Instagram, I am at the Real Bounceback Queen. And I do have a website, www.thebouncebackqueen.com. On Facebook, I am LaNika Shelly Williams. And on Twitter, I am LaNika Nichelle.
That's right. I want to thank you for being today's guest on Ask Sharifah Videocast. And I especially want to thank everyone who tuned in to watch this show live, as well as everyone who is watching it in the archives. I definitely appreciate your support. I appreciate you for tuning in. I appreciate you for sharing the show. But as always, please don't just watch the show. Please don't just share the show. Please support our guest. Visit her website. The link is in the Facebook post. Follow her on social media. Reach out to her. And as I always say, when you reach out, please let her know Sharifah Hardie says hi. Now, if you're interested in more ways that I can help your business, or maybe you want to be a guest on Ask Sharifah Videocast, visit my website at AskSharifah.com. Until next time, everyone have a safe and a blessed day. Bye now.